So I've driven a week or so with the Thinkware U1000 and I'm ready to give an honest opinion on how this camera works. We'll start out with the pros. It seems like it's a good camera. It shoots good quality video. And it seems to be pretty reliable. I've had dash cams where you'd go to download the video and half the time the file would be corrupt. Haven't seen one of those problems with this camera. It's a 2-channel camera, so you got front and rear channels. The rear channel has good quality video as well. The installation of the camera looks almost OEM. There's no screen that you have to worry about looking at. It can be put sort of dead center in the car, and it looks a lot like modern vehicles window accessories, like in my 19 Escalade, for instance. Hard to tell it's an aftermarket camera at a glance. The file system is reasonably well organized, separated into event folders as well as continuous folders, broken up into 1-minute segments. It's easy to identify which are the front and rear recordings, and they're obviously time synced. So that's pretty good. When you're recording with a high-res dash cam like this, you generate 99.99% of your video as something you could care less about. But it's relatively straightforward to find the video segments that matter. For instance, on my very first drive with this camera installed, I saw a guy riding his bicycle the wrong way up a hill on a major road here in Calgary. It was easy to find that footage and save it out for a later video. All right, it has a parking mode, which seems like it works pretty good. I did not put an extra battery in the car, and I enable parking mode only for motion detector, for G-Shock events. So I don't think it's going to kill the car battery for that. Also, most of the time this car is parked inside, away from problems, so it doesn't need, weeks of parking time out on the street like some other vehicles might. So the parking mode's pretty good and didn't require an extra battery. It does require a hard wire, which with a camera like this you should do anyway. But bear in mind, when you hardwire a camera like this, you have to find circuits in the car, both an accessory circuit and a continuous power circuit, in order to operate it. So that takes a little bit of work, and it's a little bit of work to get that up and going. The lane departure feature on the camera does appear to work. It lets out a little tisk-tisk sound when you cross over a lane, and it can be speed configurable, so it doesn't sit there and moan at you for crossing lanes when you're trickling around town where you're normally crossing lanes. That seems like it works. The traffic cam feature does work, and I find it a good supplement to Waze, which I normally drive with. It provides a distance to known traffic cameras, as well as the speed limit with a verbal announcement. Now, the speaker isn't super loud in this car. If you're driving along with the top down and the radio up, you may not hear these alerts. But with the top up, and probably in most hardtop cars, it's perfectly understandable. And I find it's a good supplement to Waze. Another good thing about the camera is it comes with a polarizing filter, or the kit that I got did. And that's helpful, especially late in the season like this, driving in a place like Calgary where you're often driving into a sunrise or sunset, and the sun is quite low on the horizon. Okay, what didn't I like about it? Well, it's quite an expensive camera. I think this kit that I bought was 650 Canadian dollars. So that's at the upper end of what dash cams cost. If you just want something that takes a little video while you're driving, there are probably competent cameras, like maybe Ape Man makes one that cost, I don't know, $70 or $80. So it's you pay quite a bit for these additional features, plus the quality. The manual and instructions for this camera. It comes with a thick looking manual, but in reality it's really terrible. The manual is just a list of all the functions, exactly the same kind of thing you could look at if you just went through each and every menu, but it doesn't describe what any of the functions do or why you would set them, and that leaves you guessing on a whole bunch of things. For instance, ADAS initialize, that's their automatic driver traffic alert system. It's the thing supposed to provide forward collision avoidance and the lane departure and so on. I'm not sure what you're supposed to do with that. You can hit initialize, but it doesn't give you any tips like drive on an empty road or drive in the daylight. And I really don't know what the best way to try and initialize it is. And it's possible that a poor initialization of that system is a factor in the forward collision avoidance being essentially useless. There's no mention of a key setting which you need to know, which is your Wi-Fi network band. The default is 2.4 gigahertz. I'm guessing most people who spend $650 on a dash cam system have a modern phone that supports 5 gigahertz. And the performance difference in downloading video from the camera is dramatic. If you run it on 2.4 gigahertz, you're getting download speeds which are less than real time. So in other words, if you download a minute of video, it's going to take over a minute to download it. With the 5 gigahertz setting, which is a trivial setting to make, suddenly you get a quick looking download. It makes it much more tolerable. Okay, as I alluded to, the forward collision avoidance, it's something that I would like to work in this car. This 10-year-old Mustang doesn't have that. Systems like my vehicles like my 19 Escalade do, and they're a useful nanny system. But try as I might, I have not been able to get forward collision avoidance to work acceptably. I'm pretty sure that it is sometimes picking up a reflection off the hood of this car. I tried raising the camera a notch higher than what they suggest in their setup. I tried the polarizing filter. I tried various sensitivity settings. I tried reinitializing ADAS, and try as I might, I can't get it to work in a way that I think is reliably. I did get it to be quieter. When I initially started, the thing just sat there beeping constantly. But I haven't been able to get it to work reliably. The connection with your cell phone is a Wi-Fi connection, and because I have a wireless CarPlay set up in the car, which also uses Wi-Fi, it fights with that. So if you go to connect to the dash cam in order to download video, first you have to shut the stereo down in the car. If you don't, the stereo keeps reconnecting and disconnecting the dash cam, which makes it impossible to get video off of it. Maybe this is a little detail, but it makes it harder to deal with, and it's a little bit of a pain to pop the card out of the camera when it's tucked up tight on the windshield, take it inside and hook it up to a computer. So it'd be nice if that didn't fight, but it does. The rear channel has a hard to find cable. It uses a male-to-male micro USB cable. I think this cable is called an OTG cable. They supply a long cable. It's probably adequate for most applications, but in the case of this convertible, I wanted to put the rear channel on the front window, and I needed to use a cable that's like a foot long, and I'm still fighting with trying to find a cable that I think is truly acceptable. I did get an 8-inch cable, which works, but it's putting some stress on on the rear channel, and I'm guessing that eventually it's going to pry the rear channel camera right off the windshield. So I'm trying to get a cable that's a foot long. It could be an easier cable to come up with. It's too bad that it isn't. Also, as far as installation of the camera is concerned, I found the stick-on system on the windshield to be a little bit difficult to align. You're supposed to fire up live view on the cell phone and then align it. It uses a quite sticky pad, which doesn't give you much forgiveness if you get it too close to the windshield where you have it straight. And when you're holding the camera, trying to align it, I think your hand probably obstructs the Wi-Fi antenna, so you end up with a pixelated view, or sometimes a view that cuts in and out or even disconnects. I think I got a good alignment on this, but other systems that use a ball style alignment and a screen are way easier to get lined up straight in the car than this is. And once it's installed, you can adjust the camera up and down, but you cannot change the orientation of the camera. So if you got it put in a way where it's not lined up with the center of the hood, or it's offset at an angle, that's too bad for you. All right, overall, the purpose of a dash cam is to get good video and to have continuous video and to have parking recording. So it does that pretty well. For $650, I bet you there's a bunch of other cameras that also do that pretty well. The more advanced features of the camera are not particularly useful. Well, I should mention things like the cloud features. They only really work with your cell phone hotspot. I can't imagine anyone needs a push notification to their phone to say, hey, the vehicle you're currently riding in was just involved in a collision. You already know that, you're in it. So it's all these features are a lot of flim-flam that are not really worth anything. So I'm going to give this camera system 3 out of 5. Not because it does a poor job, but because it's probably a little on the costly side for the job that it does do.